All right. Let's talk about how Breath of Fire 1 and 4 are all connected, even though people like to pretend that they're not for some reason. You people make me really angry. You people didn't play these games. You weren't paying attention. You're stupid. Let's talk about how dumb you are. Okay? You look at the world maps, for crying the F out loud, right? What do we have? Let's just go in order of release first, and then we'll talk about it, okay? So Breath of Fire 1, we have the world map, which there's a couple things that you'll maybe see in the same locations in other areas in future world maps. But the quintessential area in the world map of Breath of Fire 1 is in the southwestern corner of the world map. Oh gosh, gee, golly, what's there? The Goddess Miria's Tower. It's kind of interesting, really, you think about it. Because it's not a tower that's built on the surface. It's a tower that was built in the underworld and is so tall it reaches out to the top of the surface of the world. It's kind of like the evil tower in Shining Force 2, actually. And the goddess Miria, imprisoned in that tower, she has used her evil influence to, mess with the minds of the Dark Dragon clan to excavate her using technology. Don't forget that. And, the goddess at first, she appears docile and, oh, I love everything. I just want everyone to live in harmony. I mean, the way I'm going to make everyone live in harmony is by killing them all, but, I'm a good goddess, totally. And then you wreck her, and then she turns into an abomination with, like, 7 xenomorph alien tentacle penises. I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up. I'm not just trying to sound gross. That actually happens. It's a pretty awesome final boss design. Like, look, I love gross, disgusting, dark things. That's why I love Berserk. The Goddess Miria's true form, oh man, it's nasty. It's gross, dude. I love it. Anyway, you kill her off. Game ends. First Breath of Fire is over. And, when I played it in my youth, I was like, this was a dope game. Wow. I love how many secrets there are in this game. And I love how the plot and the story and the world weren't shoved in my face the whole time and treated me like I'm a retarded 5-year-old who doesn't understand basic social interactions. It was just really, really good. Breath of Fire 2 comes out. Interesting. In every Final Fantasy game, the world maps are always drastically different from each other. And I've always given credit to Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy for coming up with entirely distinct world map designs. That's pretty cool. But the fact that Breath of Fire 2's world map design is like 70% similar to Breath of Fire 1's world map design maybe should clue you in on something, you freaking scabs. And interestingly enough, there is something of tantamount evil in the southwestern corner of the map, just like where Miria's Goddess Tower was in the first game. It's not a tower of death or anything like that, but it's not great. It's not great. Heck, you even have the ancient pyramid tomb from Breath of Fire 1 is present in Breath of Fire 2. Still, it's a lot of the towns have changed, all that, but oh, how interesting that there's still a giant effing damn pyramid in the same location in a desert, almost like these games are connected in some way. Wow. But timeline wise, we can see that Breath of Fire 2 must have taken place much deeper in the timeline, because the Windians have lost their ability to fly with their wings, And Ryu, as a dragon clansman, can no longer maintain a dragon form. He can only turn into it temporarily and then immediately changes back. And then we have Breath of Fire 3. One of the most interesting and the best game in the Breath of Fire franchise, other than Dragon Quarter. But I don't know. I mean, even though Dragon Quarter is my favorite game ever, I don't know if I'd really consider it a Breath of Fire game. It has the elements, but it's not the same. That doesn't mean I have anything against it, but we're being real here. Breath of Fire 1 through 4 are all connected. So in Breath of Fire 3, the world is facing a problem of desertification. That's why the goddess Miria, who exists in Breath of Fire 3, didn't exist in Breath of Fire 2. It was Death Evan instead. But in Breath of Fire 3, the goddess Miria still has her tower, except it is now complete. The goddess Miria is now aboard an effing space station. Holy crap, that is just so cool. We go from swords and sorcery in a forested town to a space station by the end of Breath of Fire 3, and that is mad dope. I love gradation of thematic elements. Shining Force does the exact same thing, and I love that. Breath of Fire 3 is harder to place due to its world map design, because the world map in Breath of Fire 3 is basically just a long stretch of land that goes east to west with very faint north and south distinctions. And then you cross the ocean to the north to go to the mainland. You need to shut the hell up right now. There's nothing for you to bark at. Be quiet. And that, to me, is probably the hardest part of putting all these world maps together. And I think that's where a lot of people stop trying. But we can see when we come to Breath of Fire 4, we look at the world map in Breath of Fire 4, and most of the world is covered in ocean. Do you know that the bottom of an ocean, devoid of its water, looks suspiciously like a desert? And in Breath of Fire 3, the world was covered in a desert. So yeah, it's definitely not in order. These games jump all over the place, back and forth between the timeline. But you look in Breath of Fire 4, what's in the very southwestern corner of the world map? Why, I think it's the beginning of the Evil Tower. You know, where Kray's sister is, in that tower that you're climbing up, made of twisting, pulsating flesh masses across all the wood. That you get all the way up there and you take the covers off her bed, and it's like, yeah, all that flesh is actually me, because Yuna has been infesting me with like dark chi magic and turning me into an abominable eternal monster. Where do you think Miria came from? So, I mean, as far as I can tell, Breath of Fire 2 is the end of the chronology, because the goddess Miria isn't there anymore. The Dragon Clan has created these insane pillars that are literally holding up the upper layer crust of the entire planet. And that hollowed out underworld that the Dragon Clansmen have created is like, in case the goddess ever tries to come back from where she has been sunken into, we're not going to let her get to the surface this time. And just, dude, how are y'all gonna say that this isn't connected? It's the frickin' tower in the southwest corner of the frickin' world map. All the evils and plagues that come from there and spread out to the rest of the world. It's the frickin' same world the whole time. And this recurrent story of the one Dragon Clansman, and he has one ally and friend from each of the other prominent tribes of that era and that epoch, and they always go against the great evil of the time. But I think the most interesting one of them all is Breath of Fire 3. And this is the thing I was trying to build up to in that 2-hour-long video. I'm just going to say it plain as day. In Breath of Fire 3, the goddess Miria has infused herself and joined herself with the space station. She is now a machine god. Or rather, the best thing to say is that she is Skynet with a god complex and a maternal instinct programmed into her. This isn't the kind of Skynet that is like, I have to kill everything, right? Because I think the people that programmed Miria were aware what she had done previously and overwrote parts of her frickin' god brain, right? To say, yo, you can't just kill everything. That's not true peace. So instead, in Breath of Fire 3, Miria decides to just put everyone inside of a snow globe, which inhibits the growth of all races and all civilizations, and she drip feeds them machines that she allows to fall into the ocean so that they can be picked up by the other continent. You know, like, and it's not even just that. The machines function off of Chrism ore, which is like a magical amethyst, essentially. Like in our real world, we have machines and we use crude oils, fossil fuels, as a means to generate combustion for our engines and things like that. In Breath of Fire 3, the goddess Miria, I don't think she's evil. I'm going to say that. I don't think she's evil. She's misinformed, and because she is not a biological entity with a lifespan, she doesn't understand what they're actually going through. She's guessing. But the thing is that she does love, like, all life in her care. She genuinely does. Otherwise, when she sees, for example, a creature that is killed and its flesh is not consumed for food and it is simply dead and left to decay, she takes pity on that dead creature and causes its corpse to become calcified and crystallized in Chrism ore, a magical amethyst that is infused with her eldritch powers that, despite being a machine, she still possesses a very strong capability of spreading her magical influence across the entire planet. And to further prove that I don't think the Miria in 3 is evil, she's the one who created the Guardians and created an entire institution toward the end of genociding the Dragon Clan out of fear of their power. But yet, where's the largest source of Chrism ore in the world now? From dragon corpses. Even though she ordered their genocide and their execution and created organisms, the Guardians, in order to kill the dragons with, she still took pity on them and allowed them, even in death, to serve a purpose to the world at large by becoming a fuel source for the technology that she drip feeds into the rest of the world. And I just freaking love that story because of the way it concludes. You know, every other final boss in every game ever made, you beat the final boss and they go, "Oh, this is impossible. How could you defeat me? I'll always return when there's darkness in the hearts of men." And then they die. That's every final boss in every game, like literally ever. When you defeat Miria, she falls on the ground and prays, raises her hands up toward the heavens, and begs to know, screeching, and says, "If there is a God, tell me what I did wrong." And now we have a Skynet AI machine with a God complex who is now undergoing, in the final moments of her life, an existential crisis. Whoa. Like, dude, that's deep. Like, that's pretty interesting. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, they think like the basilisk thing is going to happen, that I have no mouth and must scream is inevitability. But I actually think it'll be, or more like Terminator 2. I think Breath of Fire 3 is probably the most likely outcome for the inevitable time when AI overtakes the world, is that we will have to destroy all technology and just go back to living with nature, and that's the way we're going to have to do things. Eventually it will become too much for us and it will enslave us. But that doesn't mean we're locked and stuck in that world. We can fight back, because the machines, not being biological organisms, don't understand the futility and the fear of having a mortal coil and how that propels bravery and courage in us. And that is why they will fall, because they don't understand us. Anyway, there, I've encapsulated everything I wanted to say in that previous video. But let me just say one last thing, is that Gar is the coolest character, I would say, in any Breath of Fire game, and I can test almost any game ever. He's up there with Grizz from Albert Odyssey on the Sega Saturn. Gar is what you get if you multiply a wide Putin GIF with Shaquille O'Neal and Firebrand from Demon's Crest. Also, and Akuma from Street Fighter, because Gar's whole vibe is like this Buddhist monk thing. Gar is just a badass, hands down. You can't get cooler than Gar, like straight up. I mean, ignoring his awesome character, his sweet, very to the point dialogue, his sprite animations are just so good. Like when you start combat, he just like channels fire into his hand and paints his 300-pound Lu Bu's spear into the world, grabs hold of it, and then starts pounding it into the ground. Because at the bottom of the spearhead, he's got like those Buddhist monk rings around it, so that every time he smashes it into the ground, it does that like rattling, jangling sound. He's also got his hands like in the Nami Abu Dabutsa pose, so like his idle animation in combat is that he's just like, I'm gonna need to say about 20 prayers right now because I'm about to feed all the plants around here your blood and the coleslaw of bone and frickin' blood that I'm about to spill everywhere, buddy. Better cleanse it now. Gar's a frickin' beast. Literally, he's a beast, dude. His strongest weapon, and the strongest weapon in the game, the Beast Spear, is so heavy that his agility will be 0. He will always go last. And it is in fact so heavy that it drains his health to have it equipped. Gar is big and strong enough to like literally shove his hand into the engine block of a car, grip his fingers together, and just lift the whole thing up with one hand. This spear is so heavy that it drains his health just to wield it. It destroys everything, including him. That's just badass. Like, that's just freaking awesome, man. Yeah, Breath of effing Fire, bro. Amazing games, amazing storylines, and the creator has in fact said that Breath of Fire 5 is its own world. It's not connected to the other ones, and that's the only thing they've ever said. But that does insinuate that the other 4 are connected. 5's not part of it. So, yeah. Play through Breath of Fire games again. Check them out. See what you missed. See how they're all actually connected. And see why they are honestly probably the most brilliantly penned story in JRPG history, in my opinion. That's what I got for you. Hope y'all have a good one. And God bless. I'm out. Later.